Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill. Joining me today are Graham Noble, Dave Patterson, Michelle White, and Andrew Moran. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. President Trump can only put up with something stuck in the craw for a brief amount of time before getting busy in ridding that cause. Lately, the president is getting serious with Syria, where 3 U.S. servicemen were attacked and killed by an ISIS ambush. As Trump told reporters, "We will retaliate." Okay, Dave, what does retaliate even mean? I mean, that's kind of broad.
Well, serious retaliation likely translates into escalated military actions in Syria. And, drawing from Trump's past playbook of decisive airstrikes, this could include precision strikes, drone operations, special forces, and targeting ISIS leadership and their hideouts, as well as, supply lines in eastern and central Syria. The problem here, though, is analysts suggest it might involve intensified intelligence sharing with Syria, and that's kind of problematic. But as long as it's focused on ISIS, I suspect that would be, okay. But then you have to realize that if you go after ISIS in Syria, it's going to be pretty tricky setting about killing ISIS members without civilian casualties. And that's going to be difficult, but probably necessary if you're going to maintain any of the newly achieved relationship between the U.S. and Syria's interim president, al-Shara. And I think that's something you want to be very careful about preserving.
So, who all is on board with Trump? I mean, Syria has said, "Hey, we're with you on this. This was wrong, and we want to fix it." But who else in that region is going to stand up and be willing to take a hit, Andrew?
Okay, before I answer that question, my first question is, why are hundreds, and some estimates have seen 2,000, why are all these troops in Syria in the first place anyway? And how much longer do they need to be stationed in Syria to restabilize the country or stabilize the region? Now, I'm not blaming President Trump for this. He didn't cause this. This whole ISIS situation happened under Obama when he indirectly supported the creation of ISIS through Al-Qaeda and the splinter cells. But the administration will say constantly that the U.S. needs to help the former Al-Qaeda leader, al-Shara, and prevent ISIS from attacking U.S. forces. But the current U.S. presence is not deterring that whatsoever. It's exacerbating the situation. And I'm sure a guy like al-Shara, who you cannot trust with a 10-foot pole, considering he was one of the head Al-Qaeda guys, I'm sure he loves the idea of U.S. forces being attacked, so an American force will stay in Syria and ensure there isn't an intensification of the civil war and lead to a regime change of al-Shara. So I'm sure any neocon or interventionist countries in the region would prefer to have American forces constantly attacked, because then they're going to be thrown into the war. And I'm sure, Dave Patterson will come up some war plans for, regime change in any other country. But for now, I mean, most Americans oppose any type of action in the Middle East. We've learned the last 30 years how, even under Reagan, he wrote in Reagan Diaries that nobody understands the complexities of Middle Eastern politics. And lo and behold, 40 years later, U.S. is still involved in the Middle East. So I hope that answers your question, sir.
Nobody in the Middle East, Andrew, understands the complexities of
exactly.
Right.
Good point.
Okay, so it's been said that Syria is the last stronghold for ISIS. So is this beginning of the end for ISIS, Graham?
No, I would say not. ISIS has at least pockets or affiliated groups all over the world. I mean, we're talking in the Levant, which is otherwise known as North Africa. And then you've got even ISIS affiliated groups in certain places in the Far East, even. And of course, all over the Middle East and places like, Central South Asia, places like Chechnya. A lot of those breakaway or former Soviet republics have got various groups that are at least affiliated with or kind of supporters, sympathizers of the Islamic State. So I think to say that Syria is the last stronghold, it might be the last remaining. It might be a country where that has perhaps the largest concentration, perhaps, of ISIS fighters. But there's really no destroying ISIS completely. There never will be, unless there is an entire change of heart among the global Muslim population, and they actually decide to turn against the fundamentalists. That is the only way that this whole thing is ever going to end. I do think it's kind of a good idea for us to encourage, if you like, kind of sacrifice one of these Middle Eastern countries and allow it to become a major allow it to become a caliphate and it to become a completely ISIS dominated country that sucks in all the ISIS fighters and groups from all over the rest of the world, and then we've got them all in one place, which would be pretty good for us.
Right. And if I may add one thing too, I mean, you may destroy ISIS, but there's always going to be another organization to step up. We see it within these terrorist organizations. You kill one head, and then another one just pops up, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's Taliban or Al Qaeda. Then there'll just be another organization, and you'll see that the neocons helped fund it too and gave it weapons, and it was created because of some regime change, unintended consequences. So, the ISIS can destroy it, more will just pop up.
Well, Michelle, what I've kind of been out of the loop on this, but has Congress, are they involved in this? Are the media involved in this? What's going on there?
Well, I don't really listen to what the mainstream media says. This one really hit close to home because I was a reporter in Iowa and I covered Eastern Iowa. And I, side note, was also Miss Iowa for America 2021. So Iowa has a dear place in my heart, and the Iowa, I just love Iowa and its people. So I've been watching what the delegation has been saying, and not surprisingly, they're supportive of President Trump. Senator Joni Ernst is a veteran and served in the National Guard in Iowa, and she has highlighted the Islamic threat and said that we need to take this seriously, combating their mission there was to combat ISIS and to protect us from radical Islamist terrorists. And similarly, Congresswoman Ashley Hinson said anyone who attacks our troops must and will be held accountable. So I think they are in support of President Trump. Rick Crawford, who chairs the House Intelligence Committee, said that they needed to be treated like the deadly threat that they are. And how do you retaliate against a deadly threat? You like what President Trump did with Iran. You bomb them. So I don't know what is up his sleeve. It'll be interesting what he says tonight. But I think he has the backing of Congress. I haven't found anybody speaking out against it, because that really would be in poor taste to speak out against retaliating against soldiers being killed. But the vast majority of American people, as we could tell from the response of the Iran bombing, are backing him. So I really don't care what the media says, but I do find it heartwarming that at least some members of Congress are speaking out in support, particularly from Iowa.
I think too, you have to look at, take a step back and take a look at the larger picture. And the fact is that Trump is withdrawing steadily from Middle East. His national security strategy has highlighted the fact that his focus is going to be on the Americas and the Indo-Pacific, and consequently, this business with ISIS may be a momentary perturbation in an otherwise perfect plan, and I think that it will require very specific, and when we have the capability and we have the intelligence capability to make targeted strikes on ISIS and make their life miserable.
Well, I guess that's a goal. Well, what we all know, I don't care who you are, we all know Trump is usually a man of his word. So let's see where he can take the Syria situation. We will keep you posted as we watch the battle unfold. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. A special thank you to Lisa K. Donner, Scott Cosenza, and Michelle White for picking up where I left off on C5. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all as well. Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Stop by to see our new aggregate polling operation, The Public Square. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today, and get your fix of free thinking and free speech at libertynation.com.